Welcome on in, everyone. My name's Dallas. I'm one of the enrollment advisors here at Coder Academy. I'm just going to hold tight for a minute or two, let a few more people come in before we get started. Okay, let's kick this bad boy off. Once again, my name's Dallas. I'm from Coder Academy. I'm an enrollment advisor here. And today we're going to have a bit of a chat about what opportunities we have available as far as our coding boot camps go. And we've also got a guest speaker in Lau, who is the partnerships manager for Coder Academy. Let's move on through here. Look, we're going to have a bit of a chat. Web Dev Bootcamp 101, talk about the bootcamp and what opportunities we have available, and coding career job placement. We're going to have a bit of a chat about that and featuring our guest speaker, Laurien. In the spirit of reconciliation, Coder Academy acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea, and community. We pay our respects to the elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people today. Who are we? This is me and Tom. Tom is also an enrollment advisor. He actually will be having a bit of a chat with you guys momentarily. Tom, we'll just get you to come on and have a chat about some housekeeping.
Aloha, can everyone see me? Hello, Tom here. Nice to meet you. Hope everyone is having a lovely Thursday afternoon for the no, Thursday morning for the most part of the day. So a bit of housekeeping for today. Make sure that for your chat, guys, can everyone select move from host and panelists to everyone? That way we can actually see everyone's kind of like messages. Can everyone just like send hi in the chat just to check, make sure that it's working, if that's possible? Beautiful. Hi, Kathy. Nice to meet you. And for the most part, again, just keep. We'll try to go through all your questions by the end of it. But yeah, other than that, though, just keep your questions civilized. Send them through the chat. And if you have any questions along the way, I'm keeping track. So then we'll save all the questions to the end of the session for the most part. So yeah, other than that, though, I'll hand it back to you, Dallas. Simple as that.
Cheers, cheers, Tom. I couldn't turn my video back on; it just wouldn't come back on. Lucky. Sweet. Thanks for that. Once again, feel free to throw some questions into chat if they're short and sweet ones. Otherwise, we will hold on to the majority of them for our Q&A session at the very end. What is coding? Coding is a super broad term. Okay, you've probably heard some things like software engineer and programmer. These terms are quite high level. Programmer could mean pretty much anything. It's very generic. What we teach is web development, specifically full stack web development. Okay, it covers both front end and back end development. So basically, back end and front end put together with a little bit of other things, and that equals a full stack web developer. And that is what we teach here at Coder Academy. Who employs full stack developers? So many people, pretty much everyone. Development has sort of like leaked into every industry. IT companies, obviously, that's a big one. A lot of developers in IT companies. You've got retail. Retail's huge. A lot of companies these days, are selling things online, and full stack. Developers are the ones that are building those online platforms for these companies to sell their goods, and they're also the ones maintaining it as well. Financial institutes, also known as fintech, is a really big one too. I'm going to go out on a limb and say just about everyone in here has got a banking application on their phone, and are using it day to day. These are the sort of applications that full stack developers are actually looking after. Once again, creating and maintaining. And then digital agencies just covers a whole lot of other little bits and pieces. If you think about you know, um, you know, data analysts, using development in, marketing teams and this sort of stuff. Obviously, there's a lot of different bits and pieces happening all over the shop, with devs here and there too. So there's just a lot of opportunity available across a lot of different industries. The average salary So the average salary for a full stack developer is $120,000 a year. So that's just for a developer that's probably been in the industry for a little while, a couple of years. Starting off, you're probably looking at somewhere between $70,000 and $80,000 a year as a starting salary, which isn't too bad after only 10 months of education. So yeah, keep in mind, upon completing a bootcamp with us, you'll be considered a junior full stack web developer, proficient in front end and back end. You'll be able to build complex websites, databases, and web based applications. And you can definitely apply this to a job. Basically, we do our best to prepare you to hit the ground running after education to move into the industry as a developer. So our boot camp is ideal for pretty much anyone. Career changes is a big thing. Obviously being a 10-month boot camp, people are not looking to go back to uni and study for, say 3 or 4 years. They're looking for a shorter course that's intense and gives them the education they need. So basically, career changes are probably our bread and butter. They're the biggest demographic of people that come onto our courses. Upskills as well. We have people who are developers in the tech industry already, and they tend to look to us to try and upskill if they've maybe been working on some legacy code, they've been in the same position for a little while. Things have, in tech have sort of been changing around them, and they come on board to sort of brush up on the latest skills, and we do our best to stay at the sort of the pointy end of tech, so to speak. And yeah, I did mention uni before, 3 or 4 years, and it's a great alternative because people don't necessarily want to move into 3 or 4 years of education. They want to do a 10-month boot camp like what we have to offer, and then move into the industry or change their career and never look back. And that's what we have to offer there. Also, it's good to keep in mind that we're accredited. So our boot camp is a nationally recognized higher education diploma of web development. And the subjects that completed in the boot camp are actually university level subjects. So if you did want to, you could move on to further study in higher education and get credit for what you've completed with us. Here's a bunch of information on our boot camp. So the next intake is the 31st of March, which is coming up pretty soon, but it's still far enough away for you to be able to consider it. It's a 10-month boot camp. There is the 4-week optional industry placement that will be occurring at the end. We're going to leave questions about that one until we get Lau on to have a bit of a chat. It's delivered 100% virtually, so we do have campuses in Brisbane City and Melbourne, but it's not necessary for anyone to actually go. They are available. They're open from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday to Friday if students want to go and hang out and study and use the facilities. But all of our live classes, the boot camps, they're delivered entirely online. So there's no reason for anyone to have to go to campuses. The timetable is there. This intake, it says Monday and Wednesday or Tuesday and Thursday. This particular intake, the 31st of March, is the Tuesday and Thursday intake. So Tuesdays and Thursdays from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. there is a live class that must be attended. And then on Saturday from 9 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. also another live class that must be attended as well. These live classes are recorded as well for reflection, mostly for reflection in the off chance that someone's unwell, obviously, and they can't make it. They can always go back and watch those live classes as well. But you definitely should be attending the live classes if you can. There's also 23 hours of recommended self-study to be completed outside of those live classes per week for the 10 months as well. Now, there's also academic support available online via Discord. You'll be given a Discord channel for your boot camp where you can have a chat with educators and also peers alike. Support's available on there Monday to Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And you can also get on-campus support face-to-face with an educator on Mondays and Fridays, if that is what you're chasing as well. Qualification, we mentioned that already. It's a higher education diploma of web development. And the price here, we actually were running the course for $22,250. We've recently taken 30% off the top of that because we understand that right now there are a lot of people that are struggling to get into the industry. And we feel like that we needed to give back and do our part. So we're offering savings of over 30%, so about 7 grand, and we've cut it down to $15,000. Okay. Hopefully this is allowing students that maybe aren't in the financial position to be able to taking on education at the level of what we were offering. For a bit for the price that it was, we want to get more students on board and get them into the industry, because it's really important that we do our part as well. Fee help is also available for Australian citizens and New Zealand special category visa holders. That's a student loan. We can discuss that further if people want more details on that. So here's just a bit of a shinier look. It's the weekly timetable. So in green there, you can see they're the live classes that must be attended. And then the pale yellow area is basically when academic support is available, Monday to Saturday for Discord. And then Mondays and Fridays is when support's available face-to-face on campus. But then just the Monday to Friday is when you can actually just go to campus if you want. Bootcamp breakdown. So term one will be touching on some HTML and CSS, building a portfolio website. You'll also be using some Python. So program with Python in terminal, so building some terminal applications, and then also using Python with Flask, which is the framework. Term two, you'll be touching on JavaScript and deployment, React being the framework used with JavaScript. You'll be building a full stack web application for a real client. You'll be touching on DevOps fundamentals, AWS usage, and also Docker. If all of this stuff just sounds like a whole bunch of gibberish nonsense to you, that's totally fine. Keep in mind, we teach everything from the ground up at Coder Academy. So you don't need any prior knowledge to actually come on board for a bootcamp with us. We will teach you everything you need to know so you get the fundamentals down. All that we really ask is that you have a Year 12 certificate and a passion to learn coding. If you don't have a Year 12 certificate, we have alternative methods of entry as well. We can talk more about that if it applies. And then we go optional industry placement, where you can get placed for a minimum of 4 weeks with one of our industry partners. And then you are considered a junior full stack developer. So we've got Arjun here. I came from the cheerleading industry with minimal tech skills, and my fantastic teacher helped me land my career flip on my feet. Coder Academy gave the best of both worlds with scheduled online classes, cutting out commute stress while giving an interactive and connected environment with my peers. I'm now working full-time as a developer and have no doubt that the solid foundation from Coder Academy is a big component in my success. Christopher Baker. Before joining Coder, I worked in retail sales where I developed a strong customer-centric approach. My experience at Coder Academy provided a solid foundation in software development, practices widely used in the industry, and now I'm a software developer at Entain. Very cool. Reese, transitioning from 12 years in the hospitality industry to become a full stack web developer, was a bold step into a completely different world. Coder Academy provided the practical experience and in depth knowledge I needed to successfully launch my new career, which landed me with a full time position with an exciting company. I have grown both personally and professionally. So that's just a few good examples of students that have come from different areas, different walks of life, different industries, and they've all transitioned into full stack web development. We have a diversity in tech scholarship. This one is available and it's open right now for the 31st of March intake. Ultimately, there's only one position available per cohort. You'll get 50% off of all your fees, and it's open to domestic students. You can find more information on the website, so go and check that out if you'd like. But basically, you just need to, showcase, your diversity, what makes you diverse, and that's how you can go ahead and apply. Basically, applications for the Diversity in Tech Scholarship can only be, applied for after you have applied and been accepted into a bootcamp itself. We'll reach out via email with a link for you to go ahead and apply afterwards. The application process is very simple. You just basically go onto the website, you hit the apply button, and then we'll contact you from there. The admissions team will reach out with a DocuSign letter of offer to move forward, and then it's pretty much just back and forth between you and the admissions team. Completing paperwork as fast as you can. It doesn't take very long. and then you start the course. It's very simple. We've also tied in the government loan application process with our own application enrollment process. I understand that there's a few institutes out there that have that as like a third party thing that people have to go and do themselves. We make it very, very easy. So you basically just apply on the website and we will guide you the rest of the way through the process. Coding career job placements featuring Laurien. Lau, I'll just get you to come on.
Hold on, hold on. Here I am. I just waited a minute till it works.
Yeah, it did it to me as well. It did it to me as well.
Thanks, Alice.
Cool.
If you can maybe go to the next slide and we'll start off there. So a
Cool.
little bit about me. I've got a background in education, in recruitment and student placements. I've been looking after Coder Academy students for about 4 years now, building strong relationships with companies large and small to help our students launch their careers. I'm all about creating opportunities that can help people move forward. And fortunately, this is exactly what the partnerships team does at Coder Academy. One of our main focuses is to teach you how to get ready for your new career. So you will hear from us year round about industry talks, which are held monthly and where we invite industry, sometimes alumni, to share their insights and teach you valuable skills that are not taught in the course. We also share meetup events and networking opportunities to help you get started in making those important industry connections. And we provide workshops on how to create a new tech-focused resume, as well as how to set up a proper LinkedIn profile. But most people know the partnerships team for the optional industry placement program that we run. In short, the placement program is designed to help you get a foot in the door in the industry as a fresh graduate developer. It is being offered after you have finished your course so that you get to take all your learnings and put them into practice in a real world environment straight away. It is an excellent way to find out whether the specialty you're focusing on is something you find enjoyable in an environment in which you can gain mentorship and advice from those who've been in the industry for a long time. And afterwards, the added experience on your resume will actually put you one step ahead of the crowd and lead to securing employment more easily. So let's have a more detailed industry placement journey looks like if you were a Coder Academy student. About 3 months before you finish your course, we give a presentation to tell you what it is all about. We tell you about the differences in length, we tell you about eligibility criteria, and what we can and cannot do for you as partnerships team. After this, we ask you to complete the About Me survey, which gives you the chance to reflect on yourself, tell us a bit more about you as a person, and share your goals with us. You also share your tech resume and your LinkedIn profile with us, which you will have created based on the workshops given and or organized by the partnerships team earlier. We will then review these and give you feedback and tips to increase your chances of success. After this, we send your profile to the industry partners who indicated having an opportunity for placement available. We try to match you with the right partner, incorporating wishes from both parties. This can be based on preferences. For example, I want to do front end or I want to do back end, or it can be based on personal skills or previous work experience that you already have. It is then up to the industry partner to select your interview. We have some influence in that, which is great. Whoops, lost my light there. Just a minute. There we go. We have some influence in that, but we can't make the decision for them. So that's good to keep in mind. Only those that complete their interview successfully will be offered a placement. So this also means that a placement is not guaranteed. However, as a partnerships team, we always try our hardest to secure plenty of opportunities so that we actually have enough for everyone. The whole process is pretty much similar to how you would apply for a job, but in this case, it is a placement. The placement program is generally finalized after about 2 months after you finish your degree. So if you decide to participate in the placement program, you will hear from us a lot. But also those that decide to not participate in the program, you will still hear from us regularly on Discord with anything that we think might help you move forward. And all of this engagement is used to help guide your career journey so that you feel confident in your newly chosen career path and that you're ready to work in the industry from day one of finishing your degree. Placements can be a strong start to your career as a developer, and we still have seen that those that completed a placement or those that have not, but still have taken all our feedback on board, are more secure about themselves and their abilities. And a lot of it also rides on how committed you are to making your career transition a success. So those that attend networking events, that keep coding even though after the course already has finished, people that are active in approaching companies and potential employers, they tend to land a job more easily. So let's have a quick look at some of those industry partners that we work with. Thanks, Dallas. So this is a selection of partners that we work with over the last couple of years. Some are small startups, others are other, well-known bigger brands. All of these companies have different requirements and not all of them work with us at the same time. So for example, Epsilon on that list on the left, they took on someone in August last year who did so well that they extended an offer of employment to that person, which is a great result. However, that also meant that due to that new person taking up the resources that they had, they won't be able to host a new person until June this year or perhaps even later. Magentus, which you can find, where is Magentus? On the left as well, above Epsilon. They prefer people that already have some experience or a background in healthcare because they are a healthcare tech company. And instead of hosting people for an industry placement, they actually rather hire straight away. So we help them with that as well. HighSmile on the top there only wants students that can do full face-to-face placements as they're very big on company culture. So you have to be in the area in order to be able to get a placement at HighSmile. So some company only host students for placements, some hire straight away, and some hire the graduates after their placements. It varies greatly. The important thing to remember here is that the partnerships team will take all these considerations into account and try to match you up with the company that also fits your needs. I think I'm going to stop it right there to ensure I'm not taking up too much time, but happy to answer some questions later in the Q&A. I look forward to speaking in more detail with those of you that decide to do our course. Thank you, everyone, and back to Dallas for now and join you at the end for the Q&A.
Thank you so much, Lau. Fantastic. A lot of good information there on our industry placements. Hopefully everyone has some questions. I can see one question there. Basically, this is just a QR code to join us for our next info session. If you want to go and check that one out, it's going to be a mini coding lesson with our educator, Alex. It'll be a lot of fun. He's a really fun dude. And then here's me and Tom. So if you want to reach out to us, feel free. If you have any further questions that you maybe don't want to ask here and now in this info session, feel free to do so. Otherwise, yeah, definitely ask the questions if you can. Now though, because honestly, there's just too many people that are like holding on to questions. We don't want you to leave here with questions unanswered. And also your question might actually be a question that someone else hasn't thought of yet. So everyone wants to hear it. But that's it. We'll get everyone back on for a quick chatteroony.
Yep.
Cheers, guys.
Awesome. So we have a question here for Lau from Kathy asking regarding placements. So Kathy asks, are placements paid or unpaid, Lau?
Good question, Kathy. It can be both, actually. So this depends on the company in however they're going to do it. Because the placements are not a part of the course, but something that we offer afterwards as an additional service, we are not the ones that make up the rules around this, if so to speak. So they can be both paid or unpaid. Some companies say, look, we got budget for it, let's do a paid placement. And other companies, they use that time, rather they do like a 4 or 6 week placement, unpaid, and they either give back to the community by doing that, or they like to use it as an extended interview period to see if they can hire you afterwards. So it can be both.
Cool.
Awesome to
Awesome.
hear. And just it's like just a question from me, actually, just to tie on top of that, right? So when it comes down to those placements and whatnot, what type of jobs do you kind of see coder grads typically go from, not both of you and Lau? Because I know how you guys both work with students a lot. What type of jobs do you feel like coder grads typically go to secure after the boot camp?
Junior developer, software engineer, associate developer. Uh, those are the main ones that I find. But some people actually use that and go pretty quickly into something else. So they go into cloud because, learn something about AWS and want to learn more about that. So become cloud developers. But we also have people going into network engineering,
Mm,
into design, more so front
hmm
end is a big one, go into UX UI.
mm,
So it's a really good base to go multiple directions, from what I've seen.
mm,
But most people try obviously to become full stack developers, and then they tend to start as a front or back end developer initially, and then
mm,
move over to, so if they start as a back-end developer, they move over to front end after that to go more in depth and learn really good about both of them before going full stack. And
mm.
others, yeah, go full stack straight away. That's it.
Oh, sick.
Yeah, I think it's funny you speak about front end and back end and that sort of thing and moving around between the two. What I find is a lot of students and there could be some people that are like here right now listening in will
Mm,
think, oh, I'll do this, but then I think primarily I'm just going to focus on front end development. Front end development is what I'm going to do, and they think front end development, pun intended, is more visual and people can visualize it better in their heads as to what they'll
mm,
be doing afterwards. So they choose front end. But there's so many people that come on board to study with us that end up moving into back end specific roles because they find they
mm,
actually love back end. It's
Yeah.
hard to describe, really, and it's hard for people to visualize back end. But once they're in there,
mm,
a lot of people really enjoy it. So you might come in thinking you're going to be all front end focused, and then
mm,
you find that you end up in back end or you end up loving full stack more than anything. So
mm,
you never know. A lot of students will come on board and they will change, what their dream is, in the industry like 3 or 4 times. You'll probably find that there are jobs available as a developer in the industry that you didn't even realize existed. So there's a lot of cool stuff there.
I think my biggest tip in that is to just keep an open mind. Don't be too
mm,
strict on what you want straight away out of the bat, because yes, you can have an end goal as in this is what I want to be, but you are still starting off fresh when you come out of your course, like any graduate, and you still got to learn
mm,
everything in depth. So you have to consolidate those learnings, right? And therefore,
mm,
most people, your first job doesn't have to be the end all be all. It doesn't have to be the job that you end up staying forever, but it is a really good stepping stone into where you want to go at the end. And a lot of people realize with that first job, oh my goodness, this is actually a lot more fun than I anticipated it to be. And they
mm,
either stay there or they use it exactly and they stay for a year or two and then move into the next step of where they want to go.
mm.
Yeah, it's a,
No,
it's a, it's one of the hardest parts is getting your foot in the door of the industry in the first place.
Yes.
So no matter what the job is, once you got your foot in the door, you can carve your own path from there. Yeah.
yeah. No, talking about foot in the door actually is I'm actually kind of curious, like, because you said you have a background in recruitment for the most part, right?
Yeah.
So when it comes down to, let's say, a recruiter's kind of point of view, what would you say would be a really good first step for some of our viewers that haven't really tried programming, haven't really tried coding, to really get their foot in the door and actually get that first role, essentially? Because you work with students every single day, so you know what actions that you need to do in terms of like beforehand. So what would you say is kind of like that timeline, if that makes sense? I'm sorry if I'm like that question doesn't make sense, by the
Are
way.
you saying as in people that have no experience or people that come out of our course?
How about both perspectives would be nice.
Yeah, so obviously, if you want to go into development with having no experience, I would recommend learning something first, because otherwise you can't get in. You need to know what you're talking about.
Mm,
To have a little bit of experience. It's hard to do a technical role if you don't have any technical experience. But
yeah.
in the end, I think what is really important to know is that in this course, we teach you how to learn. And we teach you the foundations, and those foundations are very, very, very important when you go and into your first role, because you might think, but I don't know these, but I didn't learn those languages, or they have a totally different stack. That all doesn't matter. You learn all these things in 10 months. You can learn new things as well in a very short period of time, because you know already how to approach it. You know those foundations, you know what to do. So when it comes to the main thing is back yourself, be confident in your abilities, and trust that you know that what you're talking about, that you got it. Because the main thing is, with people that are insecure and that are not trusting themselves, they don't put themselves out there, and you need to put you to be known and to be seen. Go to meetups, go to networking events. I know it's scary, especially, you know, for introverted people, and even for myself. I'm a partnerships manager. I go out there, I network, I meet new people, but I'm an introvert at heart. So for me, it's also a barrier I always have to overcome, but it is so, so valuable to meet these people. You know, to give you an example, there was a hackathon. Some companies organize yearly hackathons. There was a
Yep.
hackathon organized by one of the companies, and I sent they were also looking for interns, but they weren't really sure if they had the budget or the resources available to host those people. I sent them a bunch of profiles, have a look at these, and they said, sorry, not interested. However, they were also hosted this hackathon, and one of the people that I sent the profiles for went to the hackathon, got talking to the right people, and they hired her. They didn't even look at her profile when I sent it, but because she put her face out there, and because she started talking with the right people, they already knew her. They were interested. And then they were like, oh, okay. And I said, I sent you her profile. Have a look at her resume. And they hired her in the end, which is a face-to-face talk is worth 10 emails, 20 emails. It's it's worth so much more than just a random reach out, even though it is a bit scarier. But that's the main thing that I say. Put yourself out there. Start posting about your learnings on LinkedIn. Start posting about your projects. Keep your GitHub account up to date. You might not know yet what that is, but you will if you will when you do the course. So that's the main thing. Put yourself out there, because that is what you need in order to succeed and to move forward.
Yep.
For sure.
So-
I'll actually just I'll speak a little bit about like what students should probably touch on before they come into the boot camp. So at the beginning. But yeah, look, definitely if you haven't already, play around with some HTML and some CSS and a bit of Python. There's plenty of free online coding modules that you can do online. There is so many things, that you can do to try and like brush up on skills and get a bit of a taste. I just suggest playing with those ones because it's easy to overwhelm yourself. There's many languages out there. A lot of people want to jump in and start playing with Python and Flask and JavaScript and React.js all at the same time. You're not going to learn anything. You're going to confuse yourself. So just stick with HTML and CSS and a bit of Python. So Python is an object-oriented language. So just stick with one object-oriented language to start with. Have a bit of a play with that. And then, things will make more sense when you come into the boot camp. And then when you transition from one object-oriented language to another one, being JavaScript, things just make more sense. And also speaking on, introverted people and being nervous, imposter syndrome is a huge thing. It's a huge thing in every industry, and it's massive in tech because things move so fast. Everyone's aware of it. And sometimes it is hard to sort of believe in yourself. But just know that everyone experiences imposter syndrome at some point in their career. So you're not alone. Yeah.
Awesome. No, honestly, very insightful stuff. I think putting yourself out there has got to be one of the most generic yet very impactful pieces of advice that anyone has ever given to me personally. So I think that it's really reassuring to hear it from someone with your experience, like for the most part. So,
Yeah, and I think I
yeah.
see a question from Kathy in there as well.
Yep.
And that also reverts back to that again. It's Kathy says, do your students tend to get employed in tech within a few months of graduating? So again, Kathy, that depends completely. Those that do a placement tend to have a bigger success rate in that. Those that have a placement that leads to employment, obviously, again, there is an option there. But also Did you put yourself out there? Did you put in an
Mm.
effort? We also another thing we post regularly is conferences and opportunities to volunteer. So we work with a few conferences over Australia, in the big cities, and they're often looking for volunteers. If you have an opportunity to volunteer at a conference, jump on it, because that's where everyone, all those tech professionals, all those companies come together. And put yourself out there, introduce yourself to some people. If you know the right people, if you know how and what, then that already really helps as well. So yes and no is the answer to that question, because
Mm.
it depends. It depends on you, and it depends on your placement, and it depends
Mm.
on many different things, really.
Yeah. On the topic of placements, you mentioned before that placements had a minimum of 4 weeks. Could you
Yes.
elaborate a bit more on that part of the placement? And because you said there are some people have extensions, how would that work essentially with a
Yeah.
student?
So again, because the placement is not part of the course, but something we offer afterwards, we don't have a set time for it, where you say, okay, you need to complete X amount of hours in this time.
Mm.
This is what you need to do, X, Y, Z, in order to continue your course and get credits for that. That's all not the case here. You already finished your course. The course is 10 months only. And afterwards, we give you an opportunity to do a placement with a company. So the company is here in the lead. They decide how long they can host someone for. We do say we need you a minimum of 4 weeks or 20 full-time days, pretty much. But how they divide
Mm.
that is up to them. So it can be 4 weeks full-time, but most companies say, look, 4 weeks is not enough for us. If we're going to do this, we're going to do it right. So majority says 6 to 8 weeks, and some even 12 weeks, so make it a 3-month
Mm.
period. And there's
Mm.
one company that says, no, we're doing a 6 months one. Obviously, that's completely paid, because you can't have someone unpaid for such a long period of time.
Mm.
And they use it as a like a probation period to see if that goes well, and hire afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
So it can diverge, greatly in how long it is. But some companies do 4 weeks, and that's the minimum. And some companies do 20 days. I have a company that says I do 10 weeks, 2 days a week. So
Mm.
it's still 20 days in that sense. Minimum of
Mm.
20 days. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, honestly, that kind of feels like business as well. Every company it differs from company to company. And I think on top of that as well, what would you say, because you've done this for a while now, Lau, what would you say is probably the best success story that you've had from a placement, if you don't mind me asking, that is?
Oh gosh, there's a lot of them actually. There's people that are being hired straight away, which is awesome. Um,
Any specific examples by any chance, of any companies in particular?
well, we had a really good so a few years back, Entain did a scholarship,
Mm.
and that was pretty cool, because they had people going into scholarship and after that into a graduate program, and they were
Mm.
hired. So that was pretty cool. Um, the example that I gave about Magentas, they hired straight away. That was pretty cool. There was a person that, so I'm Brisbane based, and
Mm.
Magentas in this case is in the city. So, and they hired a person that is living in the Gold Coast. And for those that are
Mm.
up here, she lives in the south end of the Gold Coast, and that's an hour and a half drive. Like it's a
Mm.
pretty drive. But this person had a background as a pharmacist. And
Mm.
they knew that if I put in the time to travel and to get here, I know I want to work in health tech in the end, so it is worth
Mm.
it. And she's still working there to this day, which is about 18 months now, which is pretty cool. So there are so many good there's so many good stories to share, though. Hi Smile, again, as example as well, they hire people regularly.
Mm.
Wiki is one of our long-standing partners in Sydney.
Mm.
They are pretty awesome, because they take on a person on a placement initially, and
Mm.
if they afterwards they will take that person on as a contractor until they have found full-time employment elsewhere, because they know it
Mm.
is hard for you to get there. So it's not okay, 4 weeks placement, that's it, you're done. They're
Yeah.
like, we give you part-time work as a contractor to keep some
Mm.
income, to keep coding, because we know
Mm-hmm.
how important this is, until you have full-time employment elsewhere, and then we let you go and we have an opportunity for new people to come in. So that's
Mm.
pretty special. Yeah.
I
Uh,
think that's really cool because I think there's probably a lot of people that like look at institutes like ours that have industry placements with the partnerships team and all that sort of jazz, and they kind of look at it and think, there's probably a bunch of these companies. They're all just cookie cutter companies that students just get jammed into afterwards, and it's a way that
Mm.
these companies can get cheap or free labor. When it
Mm-hmm.
really isn't like that. A lot of these companies
no.
are very much aware of the situation. They're looking for new talent, and a lot of these grads they want to get into the industry, and it's like sort of it's a perfect combination. So it's great to hear that those companies are passionate about getting new blood into the industry as well, and looking out for the grads.
And just to note a note on that, so the unpaid placements,
Mm.
we tell all the companies these are the rules and regulations that for Fair Work has set up for unpaid placements. So everyone is
Mm.
aware of that. You can't do unpaid placements and get people to do free labor just like that. We are not the ones that allowed to give legal advice on that, but we do tell them that, look, this is what is allowed and this is what's not allowed. So
Mm.
those companies that offer an unpaid placement, that is only for a shorter period of time, 4 to 6 weeks, and they offer that for them it's purely about giving back and to teach you something that you didn't know
Mm-hmm.
yet. So they put you on a project, a side
Mm.
project that has nothing to do with the company's work itself, and that project is going to teach you X, Y, and Z. And at the end of it, you have additional skills. You have something,
Mm.
right? They will back you. You can put your experience on your resume. You can
Mm-hmm.
use them as a referee. So in that
Mm.
sense, that's the unpaid placement that we go for. Paid placement is completely different, because then you are an employee in their company officially, and that means they can basically ask you to do anything. Uh, yeah, and those tend to be a bit longer as well, paid placements.
Mm.
Cool.
Sick. And honestly, let's wrap it up with one super final question, because I think this is something that's been on my mind for quite a bit as well. So when it comes down to it, our course is accredited. And I would love to get your perspective on this, Lau, and the difference between doing an accredited bootcamp versus doing a regular bootcamp that isn't accredited, and in terms of an employability perspective, essentially afterwards. And maybe Dallas may have a bit of insight into this as well. Does that make sense, by the way?
Yeah, it
It
does.
does.
Do you want me to go first, Alice, or you want?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so when it comes to accredited, unfortunately, even though it is very outdated, a lot of companies are still asking for specific qualifications, and you will see on the job ads asking, I need a Bachelor of Computer Science.
Mm.
That is something that is advertised, but that shouldn't stop you from applying. The next big thing, next best thing, is an accredited higher education diploma or web
Mm.
development that we teach you. So a boot camp, a general boot camp might have a bit of a vibe around it that, oh, you just get a certificate and it's not worth anything. That's not
Mm.
the case here. Yes, it is a boot camp, but it is actually a diploma. It's a 2-year level diploma that is cramped into 10 months. So yes, it is hardcore, full on, but it gives you so many valuable things that give you more leeway when you apply for those jobs. Yeah, it makes a difference. When I mention it to new industry partners, they're like, oh, okay, you're accredited. It makes a difference.
It is good.
Mm.
So it basically, if for those playing at home, having an accreditation, it's more than just having a piece of paper that happens to say higher education diploma of web development. You can get credit for subjects you completed with us. If you want to go on to further study at uni, you can use those to sort of cut some time down and some costs off of a degree if you wanted to go down that path. Though majority of our grads move directly into industry afterwards. It being accredited also, it means that we're held to a higher standard. So the delivery of education that we have, what we say that we're going to deliver, we have to deliver in these courses and in these subjects because otherwise we lose accreditation. It's really important,
Mm,
the approving body of TEXA that has accredited us. They put
mm-hmm,
trust in us to deliver a certain thing, and that's what we do. So you can always
mm,
trust an accredited, I guess, provider more.
mm,
You could find a small boot camp that's a bit cheaper, claims to deliver the same thing, but when it comes down to it, because they're not accredited, they're not being held to a higher standard, and
mm,
they can ultimately deliver whatever they want, however they want, um, because yeah, there's nothing stopping them from doing so. So that's another sort of perspective on the whole accreditation thing.
mm.
Another short short story that I have that we'll wrap up on. Basically, a long time ago, there's a company called Telstra. You might have heard of them. They have a department. They have a department called Telstra Purple. Okay, and Telstra Purple is the development department. Okay, that's where all the coders are. And so we used to partner with Telstra Purple. Probably worth having a chat with them. It's been a little while, but we used to partner with Telstra Purple, and they used to be one of those big companies that only accepted students who had completed degrees. Okay,
Mm,
and they had a chat with us, and we sent a couple of our grads over. And after having a few of them come through the door, they realized that Coder Academy grads were fantastic. They could hit the ground running. We delivered fantastic education on coding and also prepared them for the industry itself. So they basically needed way less hand holding than other grads from other places. And they actually changed their system to allow
mm,
students or grads to come on board for jobs in Telstra Purple that
mm.
had diplomas after that. They no
Ooh.
longer required a degree specifically.
Mm,
So that was a pretty big one, and it's kind of just really snowballed from then. So even if, yeah, like Lau said, even if you see somewhere that it says that you need a degree, it doesn't necessarily mean you need a degree. If that hiring agent looks at it, there's a good chance they're still going to actually reach out
mm,
if they see other fantastic things on your CV.
mm.
But yeah,
One final question, Dust. I'm so sorry, and it's from
all
Kathy
good.
here. Just to end it off, because you're talking about CVs and portfolios and whatnot. At the end of the course, what type of folio pieces do you students have to show to future employers, essentially? Maybe Lau can
I
kind of
mean,
dip in it as well.
yeah. So look, you don't have to show anything, but one of the first assessments you complete with us is a web-based portfolio. Okay, and that's a website that's dedicated to you professionally. Okay,
Mm,
so at the very beginning, as the first assessment, you don't have a whole lot to throw in there just yet. But what you can do is, as you complete more assessments and more activities throughout the boot camp, you can feed those into your web-based portfolio, fleshing it out, and then by the time you get to the end of the course, your web-based portfolio should have quite a few things in there, and it's going to be worthy of showing, to hiring managers. So
mm,
you can do that. Also, it's your website, so what you'll find throughout the boot camp, you won't be able to help yourself. You'll probably start working on some side projects because
mm,
everyone does, and you'll end up
mm,
feeding those side projects in there as well. So basically, you'll have this website that you just keep working on, and then that's what you're going to be able to provide. So that's pretty much the folio pieces that you have. Um, Leah.
Yeah. And so we ask you as well, when we give you the workshop about how to create a tech resume, we help you with how you should best present those things, because your projects, that the things that you learn will be shown as your experience, because you don't have any tech experience to show for yet. So that is going to be your tech experience that's going at the top of your resume in the beginning, before you have actual tech experience in the industry. That's going
mm,
to be your showcase. Hey, this is what I've done. And your GitHub account or your LinkedIn account will help with that as well. So
mm,
the assessments that you are doing, assignments that you're doing, they are going in there indeed. And that is what you show to future employers.
mm,
However, having said that, as Dallas said, the portfolio is the first thing that you do, is the first project you do. And so by the end of your course, you might not like the thing that you have created at the beginning, because you're like, my goodness, that doesn't look the way I want it to look. So a lot of people are actually redoing their portfolio in React once they have learned React. And other people are like, look, I don't want to share it right now because I want to update it into something better. And instead, I will use my LinkedIn profile and I will put my projects in my LinkedIn profile, because you can actually showcase your projects in there as well. So that is an alternative option to showcase it. And for those that do a placement, when we send it out, when we send your profiles, your little bio and the resume to our industry partners, all our industry partners are aware of what Coder Academy students can and cannot do. And so in that sense, they will know as well. So that will help. That will help in they know what you can and cannot do. So that's what you show off. Yeah.
Cool. You can also show your MySpace. No, I'm joking. Don't do that.
MySpace, Dallas.
MySpace, maybe 10
That's
years ago,
showing your
maybe
age,
20 years
right?
ago. Maybe 20 years ago, but not today, unfortunately.
I'll catch you guys
Alrighty.
on MSN Messenger soon.
Oh no.
All right, guys, it's been fantastic. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Thank you,
Once
everyone.
again, my name's Dallas. With me is Tom and Lau for partnerships. It's been fantastic. I'll flick this back across to this slide so you guys can see our details if you want to reach out. Any further questions, definitely touch base. Otherwise, we look forward to seeing some applications from you guys come through soon, because we're pumped for you to start at Coder Academy. See you later.
See you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.